Welcome, ladies. Is it possible to be able to see you all? At the moment, you're all muted, connecting on the other side. Great to be able to pop our videos on so we can see each other. Please do not be worried about your background. You'll see my background. I'm working from home today. So welcome to everybody. I'll give you all a moment to just pop your videos on so we can see each other. Oh, absolutely, Kirsty, that's fine. No worries at all. And Sam's eating lunch, that's fine as well. Well, depending on the dynamic and how we can all gather together today will determine, how I move forward. So it's always great when we do have a video where it's possible, just so we can really get to see each other, get to know each other. It's a wonderful journey that you're all embarking on, and I'm very, very happy to be able to pioneer the way with Amanda. And so if everyone would like to maybe just pop in the chat then, your situation. So Kirsty's a little bit unwell, so she's going to keep her video off. Sam's having her lunch. Janet's also eating her lunch. Oh gosh, we've got a few people who are unwell. Okay, so yeah, just pop in the chat. I'm going to assume after COVID, we're all pretty familiar with the Zoom platform. So please just let us know where you're at, as in, can you pop your video on? If you can't, that's completely fine. I can adjust this afternoon's conversation. So we've got quite a few of us here, which is fantastic. And so I'm going to, well, can anybody put their videos on? Because if not, that's totally fine. I'm just going to change tact if that's the case. And if I can also just get everybody to type in, oh gosh, Sharon's recovering from COVID. Hey, it sounds like it's been a bit of a tough week for many. And that's fine. We can absolutely accommodate that. So throughout our catch up today, we will be having some dialogue between us. So even if it can just be audio. Hi, Nicole. Even if we can just, so it's just me and you at the moment, Nicole, that are sharing our videos. Everybody else is either a little bit unwell or eating food, so they don't want us to see them just yet. So I'm just welcoming everybody. So if people could just let me know, are you able to communicate via audio, or will you just be typing? That would be really helpful for myself. So while we're doing that, and we've got people coming on in. Ah, fantastic. Okay, Janet's coming all the way from Victoria, or you're based in Victoria and practicing in Tasmania and Western Australia. Fantastic. Okay, so Sam's saying audio for her. Excellent. All right, in about 2 minutes, I'm going to get started. I feel like we've given people enough time to find their way in. So I keep wanting to say this morning. We'll just say this morning. How this morning's going to work is it's going to be quite conversational and quite personalised. And so to have everybody involved in some kind of dialogue will just be really helpful for everybody else on the call. So be that you can, expose your video, or whether it's just you're going to communicate audio, that's fine as well. But the more people that can engage, the more we can all collectively get out of this morning. So I'll keep bringing everybody in. So whilst everybody's still coming in, what I would love to do is, for those who can share with us, and like I said, doesn't have to be via video, I'd love for everybody to introduce themselves, please. So, Janet, you just did via text, but are you happy to introduce yourself audibly? Because I might go around the room.
Yeah, that's fine, Kellyanne.
Fabulous.
Thank you. Sorry for the voice.
No, that's fine. So I want to go around the room and just get everybody to introduce themselves, your name, what your role is in your career or business, and what it is that you're hoping to get out of today. So, Janet, I'll let you kick it off.
Okay, well, I'm a family law lawyer and a family dispute resolution practitioner. And as I said, I'm based here in Victoria, but I also practice in Tasmania and Western Australia. And I'm just really anxious to hear more about imposter syndrome, because I think that it often relates to lawyers and to family dispute resolution practitioners. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to hearing a little bit more about it.
Yeah, fantastic. Wonderful. Thank you, Janet. Welcome. Nicole, over to you.
So I'm Nicole. I work with Amanda at Amanda Lillen Associates. I'm a bit like I'm just really interested in hearing a bit more about imposter syndrome. And I've been practicing in law for about 10 years now. So, seeing a little bit of this imposter syndrome around, and yeah, be interested to hear a bit more about it.
Yeah, no worries at all. Interesting that you say you've seen a little bit of it. It's rife. Unfortunately, it's rife. So thank you, Nicole. Welcome. Flenna. Oh, sorry, not Flenna. Gosh, sorry, Kirsty. Are you able to speak audibly, Kirsty, or would you rather just type this morning? Okay, that's all right. What we might do from a time perspective, because we've got quite a lot of people that have now joined, I would love for everybody to just type in the answer to the question, your name, where you practice, and what you were hoping to get out of the talk this morning or this afternoon. And then everybody can kind of read and follow along. Okay, so let's kick it off with, what is a life coach and why am I even here? So a life coach is a trained professional who's responsible for helping you examine your mindset and help you to overcome obstacles, of which obviously the imposter syndrome is one of those obstacles that many of us face. I want to just share with you, what's going on with the screen here? Just give me a minute. There we go. Some of the other reasons why people would reach out to a life coach is that they're really not happy with where they are now, and they're looking for someone to show them how to move from where they are to where they actually want to be. A life coach is responsible for helping you to transform different areas of your life over a period of time. Instant transformations literally don't exist, right? But then that's often what we seek, isn't it? We want the quick fix, be it the quick way to make money, the quick way to lose weight, the quick way to just transform our life. It takes time. And understanding your mindset, why you think the way you do, is the only way that you can retrain your mind, do different things to get different results. But if you don't know what you're doing that keeps getting you the same old results, you're going to keep doing it. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting something different. So a life coach can help you to start to think very differently. Some of the other reasons why people might reach out to a coach is to achieve that body that they've been trying to get, perhaps build a business and a culture that they can be really proud of, improve on their internal communication with self or improve on external communication with others. Perhaps they want to increase their confidence or just take it to a whole new level. Maybe they're seeking direction and purpose. and kind of like the meaning of their life. Most importantly, and this is what I specialize in, it's about teaching people the tools that they don't yet have to enhance their personal and professional life. And that's probably one of the things that's quite unique about myself as a coach. I've been a coach's coach for a really long time as well. And it occurred to me one day, what if I literally started to teach people these tools? Instead of teaching them to coaches, what if I started to teach them to the person that comes to see me, so that when you are having a moment, you literally have a toolkit that you can rummage through, grab out the appropriate thing and handle that moment on your own. So that's probably how I differ from other coaches. It is about equipping you with tools. So just a little bit of background about myself. I've been doing this for well over a decade now and helping individuals, couples, business owners, and I've accrued, I've probably lost count of how many coaching hours I have accrued. Now, I love this photo that you can see of me holding my coffee cup, because this is how I get to look every day that I get to work with someone, because I get to take them on a journey where they get to learn new tools, insights and behaviours that cause them to be happy for no reason at all. It's kind of cool, isn't it, to think that I get to do that all day, every day. Just so you know a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes, this is my family. This is taken down at Nepean River here in Western Sydney. Been married for 16 years to the same person. I have Oliver, who's 14, Samuel, who's 11, Molly Rose, who's 9, and this is our fur baby Buddy, who completes the family. So I too have a family and am juggling a whole lot more as well. And so that's really important to understand, that I can probably very much relate to some of the challenges that you experience as well. So let's get started, ladies and gentlemen. What is imposter syndrome? You've probably heard of it, but perhaps you don't actually know the definition of it. Imposter syndrome is an internal experience of believing that you are not as competent as others perceive you to be, right? So that's the more formal definition. So let's have a look now. I want you to, if you've got a pen and paper, and if you don't, I encourage you to just grab something, because we're going to be taking notes along the way. But I want you to see this next part as a bit of a checklist for yourself. And so the question is, do I have imposter syndrome? Well, someone who has imposter syndrome, even with external proof of all their achievements and all their success, they still don't feel like it's enough. Someone who has imposter syndrome underestimates their abilities and feels like they don't deserve the success. Some believe that their success is literally due to luck or some other external factor rather than their own skills, talents, intelligence, and qualifications. Or perhaps they're in a constant state of fear, of feeling like they might be exposed or found out. This is probably the biggest one, especially when somebody starts a new role in a new practice and you've been employed, and there's a sense of, oh my gosh, I don't even know how I got the job, because they really don't know this about me and they don't know that about me. And oh my gosh, what if they realize I'm not as good? And that's usually the one that jumps out the most. Someone else who has imposter syndrome is someone who tends to look for validation in authority figures, such as a boss or a family member. So I want you to just take a moment to think about, what is it for you? And we all experience imposter syndrome in some form. All of us do. Now, the stats say that about 70% of people are experiencing imposter syndrome. And so for me, with all my experience of working with so many people, I've come to see that imposter syndrome seems to rear its ugly face, rear its ugly head when we are on the court of life. Now, what I mean by that is, let's imagine we all go to a football game or a basketball game, or whatever is your favourite sport to watch. Would you agree with me, when you're sitting in the grandstand, you're pretty relaxed. You're feeling comfortable, you're feeling excited to watch your team or just the game. But the people who are experiencing imposter syndrome, who do you think they probably are, and why? And anybody who wants to unmute themselves, if you'd like to just jump in, feel free to answer the question. Who in that arena is the one that's probably experiencing imposter syndrome? You can type your response, you can take a guess. Claire says those on display. Kirsty's the players. Yes, why is it only them that's potentially experiencing imposter syndrome and not all of us? Yep, the crowd is actually, Claire saying the crowd is focusing all on them. And what are the crowd focusing on? Yep, that's right, Kerry. We're observing, so we're fine. We're super relaxed. But the people who are probably struggling the most are the ones out on the arena, out on the field, wondering what's the dialogue that's probably going on in the players' minds. Take a guess. What do you think is going on in their minds? I hope I don't stuff up. Hope I don't miss the ball. Simone says fear of failure. Yep. What are people thinking of me? Am I good enough? What are they thinking of me? Fear. Isn't this interesting? How we are, all of a sudden, we can quickly articulate what these people might be feeling. But remember, when we're in the crowd, we're not experiencing anything. So imposter syndrome tends to occur when we step outside of our comfort zone, when we are on display of some sort. So sadly, I don't have an answer for you that says this is how we crush imposter syndrome and never, ever experience it again in our lifetime. That's not actually the case. And I want to share with you, I was having a shower this morning and had this overwhelming sense of fear just come over me where I went, oh my gosh, it hadn't actually occurred to me that the amazing people I'm going to be talking to today are well-educated human beings. Oh my gosh, I hope I sound intelligent enough. I hope I say the right thing. Oh, I hope they like it. I hope they feel that it's valuable. Like all of a sudden the chatter starts occurring in my head. Now, the reason I want to share this with you is because I want to help you to know that you will continue to have those moments, right? You will have those fear-based moments. And we're going to talk about that shortly, about those fear-based moments. But the difference was I had the ability to shut it down, right? To shut it down and not just keep feeding it like it's a wolf, right? Because whatever we feed gets bigger. And so as soon as I realized it, I just went, no. And I started to have a different dialogue where I'm like, you know what, this is what I do all the time. I've been doing this for a really long time. And so basically I started talking the opposite of what that little inner critic started having a conversation about. So I shut it down and then I started a different conversation in that moment. And that's what I want to be able to teach you to do today as well. When you have those heart fluttering moments where you're on the field in whatever capacity that is, and the dialogue starts, that is normal, right? I want to highlight it's normal. And with everything that everybody just shared, would you not agree too that those players especially big games where they're, football games, where there's tens of thousands of people. Of course, you would say, oh my gosh, if that was me, I'd be thinking exactly the same thing. But obviously those players also are to learn how to shut down the chatter, because you've probably seen people play where they're fumbling and you're thinking, gosh, that's not who they are. Guaranteed it's the internal chatter that they haven't been able to take control of. And that's what I want to get you to do today. So, what does imposter syndrome actually feel like? It feels like self-doubt, a sense of personal incompetence despite your education, your experience, and your accomplishments. And I just gave you that example, didn't I, of me in the shower. And I introduced myself. I've told you I've worked with, thousands of people, thousands of hours. I have a great reputation in my industry, very well respected. I've helped transform so many individuals, so many families. And yet I had that moment of, exactly everything that you just shared about the people on the field. Because I'm on the field right now, aren't I? It's my turn to be stepping out of my comfort zone. It's my turn to have all eyes on myself. However, if I didn't shut down the imposter syndrome in the shower this morning, I'd be fumbling. I'd be really, you'd be just questioning, oh, who is this person? Does she even know what she's talking about? And then everybody starts checking out. So it's normal to doubt yourself, right? There is nothing wrong with you if you find yourself doubting, okay? So let's look at what are the causes of imposter syndrome. How does it even happen? Statistics basically say that often it comes from people who are in families that stress the importance of achievement and success. Right? It's all about being the best. It's always about winning. It's always about succeeding. And you think about a family and perhaps you realize, oh, wow, gosh, I think I've cultivated a family like this as well. And, oh, dear, I don't want to have my children feel like, experience the imposter syndrome as well. It's not that when you cultivate these things that's a wrong thing to do. It's not. You think about, well, let's just share for a moment. If you have a high value in excelling, doing things excellently, doing things really well, and being a leader in your field, what are the dangers that can come with being driven like that for children who are being brought up under that? Because it's not even that it's wrong, it's fantastic. We want to draw great things out of our kids. We want them to lead. We want them to change the world. But what are some of the challenges that can come from that? And perhaps as you're sharing, you might even be thinking more about your own experience in your own family. Yeah, so Carol just said sometimes children can grow up feeling like they're just not good enough. What else could happen? Because it's not that this is right or wrong, it's just more being aware. The feeling of not good enough is probably one of the biggest challenges. Stress, anxiety, 100%. Absolutely. And so even though we can't control the thoughts of other people, we can teach them how to control their own thoughts. Sharon said children can feel that their worth is measured by what they achieve. Absolutely. Fear of failure is a massive one. Sky said children feel like they have to replicate the type of success their parents perceive as success. Absolutely. Again, do we say that it's wrong to want the very best for our children? Absolutely not. No. What we want to do from today is to just be mindful of when we are raising our children to be the very best that they can be, that the imposter syndrome will kick in at some point. And I want to be able to equip you in a way to not only be able to squash that voice when it rears its ugly head for you, I also want to teach you how to squash that voice for your children, your families, and even people that you work with as well and come across. So this is where I'd like you to take a moment to, on a piece of paper or in a journal or type on your laptop, how has imposter syndrome impacted you? And I want to separate the two for a moment. I want to know, how has it impacted you personally? And then I want you to also acknowledge how it's impacted you professionally. So I'll give you about a minute to just write down for you, how has it impacted you personally? Perhaps in a marriage, in a relationship with a friend, your home life, community circles, families. And if you're struggling a little bit to figure it out, well, maybe just think of where you've doubted yourself, doubted your ability. Perhaps people have acknowledged how amazing you are, yet you're like, what's the internal dialogue in your head at that point? What are you saying in those moments? And then if you haven't already, I'd like you now to take a moment and have a think about where the imposter syndrome has come up for you professionally. And perhaps even consider when you started out your career. And then along the journey, as the journey has unfolded, I want you to be aware of the different moments that have occurred where imposter syndrome jumped in. And as you're writing your responses to this, for those who have children, this is how you get a bit of an insight into some of your own children's challenges as well. They'll be experiencing the same thing. Okay, so while everybody is just finishing off that list, I'd love for people to just share what you're comfortable sharing as to how imposter syndrome has impacted or even crippled you in different areas of your life. So just share one of them. So I'll give everyone a moment to just type that in. Sadly, imposter syndrome cripples us at different times. And when we don't take control over it, it can really impact what we do or what we don't do. I'm guessing people are taking their time typing that up. While we're waiting for people to type their responses, is there anybody who would like to just share by the audio how imposter syndrome has impacted you, either personally or professionally? When we get to share, it's really powerful because all of a sudden, and this is what the whole imposter syndrome thing is about, all of a sudden we go, oh gosh, yes, that's me as well.
Hello, Kelly.
Oh, who's that? Hello.
Kelly Stanford, how are you?
Good, good. Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Kelly.
Oh, it's Kelly. Hello, Kelly. You've just joined us, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. So I'm jumping in at the end here just to sort of break the silence, I suppose.
Oh,
But I
thank
think,
you.
I think it doesn't matter how long I've been doing this, and it's over 20 years now, I still feel like a fake.
Yes, yes.
And
Yeah.
I think maybe I don't know as much as I should, or, you know, and I think a lot of us suffer with that, and that then creates the impact, the actual, the impact of that is it's this internal anxiety. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Going around and round in your head.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so thank you, Kelly, for jumping in there, because that so many people are experiencing this in every industry. It's not just in the law industry, it's in every industry. So Carol was saying that for her, she'll find she downplays anything resembling success. Have you related to that as well, where somebody has said, oh my gosh, you're so amazing, you know, you're a lawyer and,
Absolutely.
you know, you got such a great life and, you know, you must be this and you must be that. And what's the response that people tend to do? Oh, it's nothing. No, it's no big deal. It's like, oh, I'm just normal like you. And, you know, why do we find ourselves doing that? Simone says, professionally, by fear of changing jobs, somehow stuck. What did you mean by that, Simone, when you said somehow stuck? I'll let you share that. Sam says, I lose sleep over it. I wake up worried about how people perceive me. Oh, my gosh. And look, obviously we are focusing on imposter syndrome today, but this is almost a cancer amongst people, terrified about what people might think of them. And really the only person that's making up these horrific stories is generally who? It's usually us. I run a training called Discover How You're Wired, and some people really just are masters at beating themselves up to a pulp, like literally just, it's almost like if you get a visual, what they do internally in their head that we don't see or hear, sometimes we might, but generally speaking, that they are literally just calling themselves all these names under the sun. You know, you should know this. I can't believe you didn't know that. You're hopeless. You're not as good as you think you are. Everyone else is better than you. And like, there's just all this dialogue. And it's literally like you have been beaten up by a couple of people, thrown in the corner, blood coming out of your mouth. You're unconscious, right? If we saw somebody like that on the corner, what are we going to do? We're going to just walk past them and go, oh gosh, for goodness sake, just get up, just get up and just move on. They can't, can they? They physically can't. They have beaten themselves. They have been beaten up so much that what are we actually going to do? We're going to go right up to this person. We're going to check their pulse. We're going to call Triple O. We're going to get them the help that they need because they can't actually help themselves right now. Yet why do we seem to think it's okay to speak to ourselves in that way? And for some of us, all day, every day, and like Kelly shared, sometimes we can be at work feeling like a complete fake, like literally like what imposter, the definition was, being terrified that one day someone's going to go, you know what, Kelly, you really don't know what you're doing. I think we should take your credentials off you. Now, of course, no one's going to do that. Sam said, I lose sleep over it. I wake up worried about how people, oh, sorry, we just said that. Let's go on to the next one. Claire says, to avoid rejection based on my own perception of my experience level, didn't apply for roles that I should have. Isn't that an interesting one, Claire? How many other people could relate to that? And can I just say, statistics show that women, unfortunately, do that more than men. Women will literally underestimate themselves and men tend to overestimate themselves. And that's a big one, Claire. How many other people have not applied for jobs that you absolutely know you could have? You wouldn't be alone there, Claire. Kirsty said, I grew up in a household where I was never as great as my older sister. Oh, Kirsty, that's a tough one. That's really, really tough. I've had a fear I would never be good enough. That internal chat of never good enough is present, and I'm sure it's still, you fight that every day, Kirsty, and you're not alone. Plus, my sister and my relationship was never great because of this. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I want to share with all of you that there are 3 universal fears. The fear of not being good enough, the fear of not belonging, and the fear of not being loved. When I say it's a universal fear, every single one of us, by the age of 7, we bought into one of those. So I want you to think about, for you, what's your universal fear? Fear of not being good enough? Fear of not belonging? Or fear of not being loved or perhaps accepted would be more appropriate in the workplace. By the age of 7, you've bought into one of those. And can I just highlight, now this might be a massive breakthrough moment for somebody. Whatever you bought into by the age of 7, I'm going to tell you something. It was a lie. That younger self of you bought into the lie, you're not good enough, you don't belong, you're not loved or not accepted. So what is the opposite of that? I am good enough. In fact, you were good enough. You've always been good enough. You're good enough today. You'll be good enough tomorrow. You'll be good enough next week. You'll be good enough in a month's time. You will always, forever be good enough. And so for those who wrestle with the I'm not good enough, I want you to try that on just for a moment. I am good enough. I want you to write it down 5 times. I am good enough. I am good enough. I'm good enough. I'm good enough. I'm good enough. And because everyone's on mute, I want you to say that out loud. I am good enough. Right? Next person. The opposite of I don't belong. I do belong. In fact, you know what? I've always belonged. I belong today and I will belong tomorrow and I'll belong the next day and I will always belong in the future. I want you to try that on. And for the other person who's felt like they've never been loved or accepted, again, huge lie. You just bought into it. The truth is you are good enough. You do belong. And this one, you are accepted. You have always been accepted. You're accepted today. You will be accepted tomorrow. You will be accepted into the future, right? So no every single human, even that person that you feel like is the most confident person that you know, they will battle with one of those. And I shared with you my shower moment where I had a moment of, oh, am I going to be good enough for these girls? That's my one that I battle, right? I don't battle it the same way as I did when I was in my early 20s, right? But it still rises up, and I just replace it with truth, right? So you will hear me talk often about exposing the lie and replacing the lie with the truth. So, Kirsty, the truth is you've always been enough, always been enough, always been enough. But this is what happens, and I'm giving you a little bit of extra things that I wasn't planning to talk about today. That is, when we buy into something, whether it's a resourceful belief or an unresourceful belief, positive, negative, what we then do is we go around and we go searching for evidence to back this up. Would you agree? This is something that you guys are doing all day, every day. But this is what you're also doing personally. You have a belief, I'm not good enough. And what happens is a situation will unfold where perhaps, I don't know, you let someone down because they asked you to do something and you've been so busy, you just forgot, right? So then you go, yep, see, here's evidence. I'm just not good enough. See, they trusted me with that. I couldn't follow through. I'm not good enough. And then something else will happen where you will follow through, right? This is what we call delete, distort, and generalize. So something great will happen where you do follow through. But what you now do is you delete that like it never happened because it doesn't line up with the belief system. And then something else will happen where you didn't follow through or you let somebody down. You're like, oh, see, it's because I'm not good enough. And of course, you may not be saying those words, but ultimately the root cause of all the dialogue is I'm not good enough, right? So, but then something else you'll do really well, but that doesn't align with, see, I'm not good enough. So you delete that like that didn't happen. So if that's what we're doing with the lie, what do you think might start to happen when we replace it with the truth? That's right, the complete opposite. So now when you start to declare, you know what, no, I am good enough. I do belong. I am accepted. I am loved. Then now what you're going to do is the complete opposite. You're going to now start searching for all the evidence that backs that up. And that, can I just say, just will have you light up. That's where you will start to feel a whole lot more confidence and contentment and just an inner sense of self-worth, because it's like, oh, wow, look at that. Yeah, wow. I just did that thing. That does validate I am good enough. I do belong. I am accepted. And then something else will happen. You're like, oh, wow, look at that. Wow. Because all you're doing is now you are searching for the things that marry up to this belief. But then guess what will happen? Something over here will happen where, you've had a bit of a moment, maybe you're a bit hormonal or something, but you now delete that because that doesn't line up with the truth is you are good enough. So, Kirsty, I'm really glad that you shared that because that just now opened up another conversation. And that, ladies, I think, is it all ladies? Oh, I'm assuming it's all ladies. My apologies if it's not. That's another tool for you, right, to recognize that everybody has a universal fear of not being good enough, fear of not belonging, fear of not being loved. And you will start to see it in people. And so this is now something that you can encourage people. When you hear and sense that they're feeling they're not good enough, this is where you can come alongside and encourage and just say to them, you know what, I just want to share, the truth is you are good enough. You've always been good enough and you'll continue to be good enough. Sometimes we just require to hear that because for some people our whole life we have been told we don't belong, we aren't good enough, and we're not loved. Or worse, I would say, internally, we're telling ourselves that all day, every day. We are conditioning ourselves, hence why we are struggling so much with mental health right across the board, both personally and you're seeing it around you as well. Chrissy said, feeling like I'm incompetent enough to go into a field I aspire to go into. A lot of it comes from my family as they have really high expectations. I have days where I just shut down because I don't think I'm doing enough. There you go. Chrissy's exactly the same. We would guess from her language. Oh, look, here's Sky as well. Personally, I'm always anxious when I play with my daughter because I think I'm not fun enough. See that? You'll hear this all the time. The root cause of all of that is I'm just not good enough. What else have people? Oh, wow. We've got loads of dialogue happening right now. I'm trying to catch up with you all. Janet said, I agree with Samantha. Other people's expectations of me as a lawyer and FDRP are high, and it's easy to fall short. Appearing in court before an unsympathetic judge can destroy you in minutes. Absolutely, absolutely. And it can if we are not prepared. Because, and this is the thing, I talked with you earlier about when we are in the grandstands of life, there's no imposter syndrome present, right? But when we are in the arena of life, and obviously Janet shared the perfect example of as soon as she's in court, she's exposed, she's opening herself up. This is where we want to psychologically prepare ourselves. And can I just say, if we are getting straight to the bottom line, and look, we can have lots of lovely conversations. I can explain to you why you might be feeling the way you are. But if we want to get straight to the root cause, it's one of those three universal fears. So when, Janet, you're going out into the court, into the arena, you want to be saying to yourself, I'm going to guess here, yours is not good enough. It's a total guess. I want you all to be saying over and over, I am enough, 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 I am absolutely enough. I was enough yesterday, I'll be enough today, I'll be enough tomorrow. Start literally saying that. That is the root cause that you're dealing with, okay? So Claire, I'm not sure what the FIGJAM thing is, the acronyms.
The first of that is a swear word. So
okay.
If I'm good, just ask me.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that, Claire. Wow. Sky was saying I thought about sitting the bar exam for about 8 years before I actually did. Gosh. Well, firstly, Sky, I want to say well done. Well done. You actually did it. You actually did it. And so there is no race or rush. And I'm often a big believer in everything unfolds at the right and perfect time. You may want to write that down. Everything unfolds at the right and perfect time. And so when we do reflect, we can see, oh, wow, okay, I now understand why it's better now that it's actually happened at this point rather than before. I remember I had wanted to be a life coach for 10 years before I even became a life coach. And I had the whole imposter syndrome. And yes, I was young, but in my early 20s, I wanted to be a life coach. That's all I ever wanted to do. But my imposter syndrome was saying to me, but who are you? You're so young. No one's going to listen to you. You need life experience before anyone's going to listen to you. So 10 years later, I finally do my coach training. And when you become a coach, you then go and get yourself a coach, right? Well, guess how old my coach was? Take a guess how old my coach was. Oh. Younger. Yes, Claire, she was 23. This coach was 23. And can I just tell you, I didn't care. All I cared about was she knew her stuff and she was good at what she taught. I loved her webinars. And here she was traveling Australia while she's teaching us and she's coaching. And she's only 23. So it really is, we make up all these stories, right? And then we buy into the story and we limit ourselves. Now, in hindsight, a lot of things happened for me in those 10 years that I am really grateful for, because I actually feel like I am a much, much more grounded, wholesome coach as a result of not starting my training 10 years earlier. So I just share that example because everything unfolds at the right and perfect timing. So I want to share with you the bad news of imposter syndrome. When you continue to allow this to manifest in your world, you will continue to breed feelings of inadequacy, right? So for some of you, it's a daily occurrence. And when we breed this feeling of inadequacy, we start to develop and cultivate negative feelings, right? And those negative feelings is what's responsible for you experiencing the heights of anxiety or going to the depths of depression, right? So we want to flip this again on its head. So if we can start a brand new dialogue with self, if we can start to, well, I've just given you the gift of knowing the truth is you are good enough, you do belong, you are accepted, you are loved, and you start to repeat that over and over, straight away there is a shift in how you feel. Your whole physiology, if I had so much more time with you, there's so many more fun things I would share with you, but by you shifting your physiology to standing upright, shoulders back, head up, and declaring, you know what, the truth is I am good enough, rather than being slumped over and going, yeah, I'm good enough, I'm good enough. It's not congruent, right? It will not work. So in order to shift, you start with shifting your physiology first and start declaring. So obviously, you know, Kelly, when who was it, was saying they walked in, was it Janet? When you walk into the court, absolutely, you walk with your head held high, shoulders back, stomach in, with confidence, declaring, I'm good enough. I deserve to be in this place. I have something amazing to bring. I know my stuff. So your dialogue is around, I am adequate. I am adequate. Well, like I said, yes, we can go in saying I am adequate, or you know what, we can go straight in with those 3 words that you go in declaring, and you watch how everything shifts for you. Because obviously then you start to feel a whole lot more positive. And when you can feel internally positive, then that's where that quiet confidence comes in. And that sense of just being content, because now you're not relying on anyone to tell you that you're amazing, not telling you that you can do this, but you are doing it from an internal perspective. So I want to start to wrap up with helping you to understand you are not alone. You are absolutely not alone. 70% of people experience imposter syndrome, whereas now you understand why you might find that you experience it just that little bit more, because you are literally playing in the arena of life every day. You are literally doing that, rather than just people sitting back and not taking, you know, risks, be that calculated, not fulfilling on the calling of their life. You are literally jumping out of your comfort zone, or maybe not jumping. For some of us, we're putting a toe out and there's a stretch, okay? So it's okay. I want you to know it's okay to not be the expert. Completely okay. It's okay not to know everything. And I want to be the person to say this to you today. You are amazing. You are amazing. You are absolutely deserving of being at the post that you were at. You are still learning, right? The more we grow, mature ladies in the room know, the more we grow and we get older, the more we realize, oh my gosh, there's still so much for me to learn, right? There's often a saying that I use, new level, new devil. The things that I used to be terrified of, 20 years ago that would freak me out, like something like this, once upon a time would have freaked me out. I would have been in tears beforehand, my internal dialogue, because it was all about, I'm not good enough, I don't think I can do this, or that doesn't exist anymore. But when I'm, opened up to perhaps being in a crowd of 1,000, that's where, it's a little bit more challenging. That's that new level, new devil, that self-talk. And it's learning to shut that down. And as I've already shared, you are already good enough. And every single one of you are already very, very qualified. So I want to share with you, this is another tool I want to equip you with before we start to finish up. The dialogue is, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. And I want to introduce you to fear-based thinking. Fear is often known as an acronym of, the acronym of fear is false evidence appearing real. Right? That's an acronym that some people use. But do you know the definition of fear? Believing in something that hasn't happened yet. So you might want to write that down. Fear is believing in something that hasn't happened yet. So when imposter syndrome kicks in, think about the dialogue. It's like, oh, I can't do this. If I do this, this will probably happen. And if this happens, then that will happen. And it's like, and so anxiety goes through the roof, right? But nothing's even happened. You've literally just made up this huge, huge story, but it hasn't even happened. So we call that fear-based thinking versus faith-based thinking. What's the definition of faith? If we had a bit more time, I'd let you share. The definition of faith, get ready for it, is believing in something that hasn't happened yet. Isn't that interesting? Fear is believing in something that hasn't happened yet. Faith-based thinking is believing in something that hasn't happened yet. So faith-based thinking is thinking, okay, you know what? This is going to go really, really well. I'm equipped for this. I'm ready for this. I've got this. I can do this. I've got all the support that I require. I've got this. Now, do you really have this? Is it going to go well? We don't know. We don't know. So if you're going to make up a story, which one are you going to make up? Are you going to make up a fear-based story, or are you going to make up a faith-based story? And that is a new tool for you to have in your toolkit so that when you're having a moment, right? I love to call these things a moment, because what does a moment suggest? A moment suggests there's a start and a finish to this season, to this situation. And so the one thing that you can control is what goes on in your mind. And so it's like, right, okay, the imposter syndrome kicks in and you're like, no, stop. I can make up two stories here. One is going to make me feel a whole lot better. One's going to make me feel terrible. The other one's going to make me feel really amazing. So given that no one knows what's around the corner, no one knows how this is all going to unfold, I'm going to walk into this moment with confidence because my internal dialogue is, I can do this. And these are all the reasons why I can do this. That's faith-based thinking. Okay, so just going to finish up because I realise we've hit time now. I'd love to hear from people in the chat box or audibly what has been really helpful about our conversation today. What has been really helpful about our conversation today for you? What is it that you can take from today, even if it's just one small reminder or encouragement, aha moment or insight? Okay, so Nicole said naming 3 types of imposter syndromes, knowing that it's normal and it's not just me. Absolutely, Katerina, absolutely. Realising that I'm not alone. You are far from alone, Simone. Sam said camaraderie. Let's say that's correct. I'm not sure. Kelly said both fear and faith-based thinking is both believing in something that hasn't happened yet. Yes, isn't that just incredible? It's the exact same definition, and we get to choose. We get to choose. We get to control the chatter and the dialogue. Lara said she loves the fear and faith-based thinking and the power in shifting our mindset. Kirsty says, yes, knowing we are not alone in that internal dialogue. I need to be kind to myself. You know what, Kirsty, I teach about pressure and freedom language. You know, it's not that you need to be kind to yourself. I want you to try on it's important to be kind to yourself. Because when you use the word I need, there's pressure there. I need to be, so you're adding pressure versus, you know, it's really important for me to be kind to myself. It's so much lighter. And so that's another little extra thing that I wasn't going to talk about today, that everyone, if you hear yourself saying, I need to do this, or I need to do that, I can encourage you to replace that with the word important. So as we wrap up today, I want to encourage you to take the time to start to design a life and career that you love. And it really does start with your own internal dialogue. If we don't get this under control and realize the truth, you are good enough, you do belong, you are loved and accepted, you will still struggle to design a life that you really love. And so as we do, as I just finish up, I just want to share with you, because I know what ends up happening consistently here is after I do a talk, people are like, oh, tell me a little bit more about coaching and the experience and how I can get connected with you. Or I know somebody that I think would really benefit from connecting and having a brief chat with me. I just want to share with you what that looks like. So I do offer both private coaching and business coaching, not in a business coaching sense of, you know, helping you to increase sales and things. But what it looks like is if you want to continue the conversation with me, you are welcome to touch base, right? We can just have a little chat and I just explain to you how I take people on a journey from here to just build on their mindset. I give you the time and the space to just explore what could be the right next steps for you, because coaching is not for everyone and not everybody is ready to grow and change. And when they're not, it's best that they just pause on the coaching experience. So when somebody does agree, you know what, this is exactly the right timing for me and they want to go on a journey with me for the next 3 months, then I will teach you really practical things. And the first thing I'm going to teach you, whether you bring me into your workplace or we do it individually, is how you are wired. That is probably the greatest gift I can give you, is to help you understand yourself and understand those in your world, be it in the workplace or be it personally. I introduced you to a little bit of pressure language, which was need. I go into that in a whole lot more depth because we feel anxiety and experience depths of depression and we just don't know how to get out of that. And it's our language that keeps feeding that. So when I can help you change that, that lessens. I'll teach you management tools so that when you're having a moment, you can dig into that and be able to walk yourself, navigate yourself through that without myself, without a counsellor, without a psychologist. I also will talk to you about purposeful procrastination, helping you to manage your time effectively. And then, of course, whatever comes up for you will determine what other tools I pull out. You then have the option at the end to perhaps continue the journey, or maybe use it as a bit of an accountability session where we catch up once a month, or maybe you decide, I think I just want to pause. Mindset training and for business owners, again, this is where I will meet with the business owner to find out what are the individual challenges that you're having. And instead of coming in and pointing the finger, everything I do is duplicated just in a group sense where people get to understand themselves, and all of a sudden those problems and challenges that have been experienced are kind of dissolved. And so again, same thing, ongoing work depends on the needs of the business. So a few testimonials. We've run out of time, but if you did want to read more testimonials, you can go to my website. But ladies and gentlemen, I didn't see we had gentlemen. I just want to say thank you so much for carving out this time today. I trust it's been really, really helpful for you. And if this is all we do together, that your internal dialogue now is going to be flipped on its head in a positive way. You've got a few little practical ways to really squash that imposter syndrome. Understand it will keep rearing its ugly head, but you squash that thing by saying, no, I am enough. I do belong. I am loved. I am accepted. And remember, if you're going to make up a story, make up a good one. Make up a good one, because those stories tend to become self-fulfilling prophecies. So let's go down the path of enjoying the experience and believing and hoping for the best, and only giving concern to anything when the facts tell us to be concerned, right? Because when we make up those crazy stories, how many times have they never happened, right? So we're going to pause there. Oh, I've just got the chat. I didn't see. Okay. Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you, everybody. My apologies for going a little bit over time, but I'll say goodbye there. We'll pause there. Go have a fabulous rest of your day. Stay in contact with me, please, and let me know any wins that you find yourself having. Let's celebrate that together. Mwah. For those who are still around, if you did have any questions and you wanted to hang around, I just realised I didn't open up the platform for that for those who can. You're welcome to ask me any questions, type anything in the chat box. I'm not rushing off.
Thanks, that was very helpful.
I'm so pleased, Kelly. What specifically was helpful for you, do you think?
I think it was just that definition of fear and faith is exactly the same.
Yes.
Just one's positive and one's negative, and that's really a bit of an eye-opener, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a massive aha moment, isn't it? I remember when I learnt it a long time ago, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can control these situations far more than I ever realised. Yeah, that's
amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Go share it with the world.
Okay.